Welcome to the first episode of Before You Play. In this show, we're going to be taking a look at games in some of their earliest states and giving you some exclusive footage of the gameplay, whilst also giving you our first impressions on the current state of the game and whether or not it's worth you jumping in to play. My name is George, and today on Games.gg we're going to be taking a look at Nyan Heroes, aka Nyan Heroes. It's going to be the first one we're taking a look at. Make sure you stick around till the end, and we're going to be letting you know if this is a play or a pass. I probably caught your attention with Mecha Heroes, but Nyan Heroes is a team-based third-person shooter developed by 9 Lives Interactive. Very fitting name, I must admit. It features cats piloting giant mechs in a futuristic world called Necovia. Players can engage in PvP modes, with PvE modes coming in the future. This game does have some resemblances to Overwatch, so hopefully this one does deliver on the PvE. The core gameplay involves controlling the Nyan cats in Guardian mechs to battle opponents in a hero shooter format. Think Overwatch meets Valorant. Meow meow. Don't forget the abilities included as well though. Players can customize their mechs with different weapons and mods, and even after their mech is destroyed, their tiny little kitty cat will continue to run around and fight, adding a unique twist to the gameplay dynamics. The game is set to feature both Battle Royale mode and Ranked Play mode, where players will climb the ranks by competing in intense matches. Currently, there are 4 Guardians and 6 weapon loadouts. Also, you get to be your tiny little cat if you have to exit the Guardian, which, as I've mentioned, is a very good mechanic to add to this, whilst also adding some incentive to keep shooting as tiny little kitty. Let's take a quick look of how you can play. The game is currently live on the Epic Store, and you don't even need an access code. You can jump right in right now. They do have certain play times though, so if the testing windows are closed, unfortunately you're going to have to wait until the next one opens up. Obviously, as with any game based on the PC, there are some system requirements. These requirements for this game are fairly nice. They are quite low, so the game has definitely been optimized already in this early stage, with the minimum requirement being a Ryzen 3 or Intel 3, 8 gigs of RAM, and a GPU of around 1660. That's the minimum requirement. Obviously, if your machine is better, this game is going to perform a lot better on your system. Next, let's jump into the good, the bad, and the updatable for Nyan Heroes. Let's take a look at the good. Speaking of things that are good, the graphics are great, which is very surprising for a game in this sort of early stage. Usually we are used to seeing stuff that are waiting for a texture to be applied or having some sort of texture markups be happening, but I've not witnessed any of that in this game, whilst it still manages to run relatively well, which does show the team have put a lot of time into optimization already in this early stage of the build. Alongside the graphics, there is also a great game loop along in here. It isn't exactly a unique game loop or something you will not have experienced before, but the way it has been implemented in this game is fantastic and definitely does lead to some replayabilities. Alongside the game loop that is adding to the fact that you can replay this as much as you like, is there is quite a large number of variety here already in these early stages. There are 4 different Guardians for you to choose from, as well as 6 different weapon loadouts. Along with these 6 loadouts, combined with the 4 Guardians, there are so many playstyles you can have. My favourite so far has been the tank loadout, but then also been playing with the sniper rifle class. So I have been a thick boy Guardian, yet I'm being able to snipe you with one shot. Whilst there are 4 different Guardians to choose from, once your Guardian has taken sufficient damage to the point that it's going to explode, your smart little kitty will hop out and you will get to run around the map as a tiny little kitty cat, dwarfed by the other Guardians and the landscapes around you. This is a very fun USP, and there is some game loop in there as well. Either you can survive for a certain amount of time and get access to your Guardian back, or you can be a very powerful little kitty cat handing out damage, and this will reduce the time you have to wait to get into your Guardian. And I think this is a great, unique concept that has been added into the game. Whilst there are still listed as Guardian kills, if you don't die as your kitty itself, then you've not really died, have you?
No, not really.
There is no way you could get away with making a cat game without adding a unique movement system style in this. You are able to do some very fluid movement throughout the game. All 4 guardians can wall run. This is very reminiscent of the old game Wolf Team. I think this is a fantastic addition to the game loop itself, and I wouldn't be surprised if later down the line they do actually add the abilities to race. Whilst each mech does get its own different type of movement as well, one is able to flash, one is able to go invisible, and one has a power stomp. Obviously the thick boy has the power stomp. I think it's definitely a great incentive to add this into the game and keep working on keeping the movement fluid, as it really does play into the thing they're trying to create around you are a fantastic little cat. No games are without their issues, so let's take a look at what I consider the bad within Nyan Heroes currently. The first is going to be, unfortunately, if you have no friends like myself, this might not be the game for you. Whilst you can play as a solo and some of the games can be fun, if you do find yourself going up against a 6 stack, you're likely not going to have an enjoyable time. Unfortunately, due to the communication that can be there in a 6 stack, you're going to get pinned in if you are against them. As with any game that includes some sort of PvP element, people are always going to be complaining about a certain hero, a certain guardian, a certain weapon type, a certain layout. It doesn't matter what game you're talking about, and I'm going to continue this cliche and complain about the fact that some of the loadouts feel aggressively more useful than others. Obviously this could come down to personal preference and play style, but I think there's some of these that may need to have a new look taken at them before it goes into a more down the line build of this game, and definitely before the game is considered complete. My final point for the bad is something that I think does have its chance to be changed, but is to the level that I wouldn't just allow it to be in Updatable. Some of the maps, if not all of them, have a very basic layout. 2 spawns, 2 corridors to the central capture the flag point, and that is it. There definitely needs to be a larger variety when this game goes into the further stages of its build, and hopefully there is some more uniqueness to the maps as well, because stripping away some of the filler that is around the outside, you would see this simply as spawns, corridors, middle. With this, I think this does also play into the first point we brought up about going into a 6 stack. Unfortunately, due to the way that these maps are laid out, it then does become possible for you to be heavily camped into your spawn, to the point that you can have 3 players on one door, 3 players on the second door, and they are blocking you from being able to exit your spawn at all. Hopefully this does see some rework later down the line. Now, the Updatable. These are some things that I think don't take too much work to really change and add an extra factor of joy into the game for anyone that is playing. Specifically if you're playing solo, while some of this could apply if you do actually have some friends as well. The first thing, we've mentioned it in the bad, but I think there is a way that it can be updated very easily, and that is maybe the idea of limiting how many parties can go together. The idea had been floated around before by the team at Nyan Heroes, but then it was changed back to being allowed to 6 stack. I think unfortunately this is great if you do have all of those friends, but it does make it less enjoyable if you're someone that can't have 6 coming together. I think there are some possible ways this can be updated and changed easily, limiting the amount of people in the squad. Also, maybe putting some sort of zone around the spawn that is limiting how close you can actually get to the spawn itself. Being able to get up to the spawn very door, I don't think this is it. Whilst you can't shoot physically into the spawn itself, as soon as anyone steps out of that, you can have people laying into them and even using some of their ultimate abilities on them. One way I think this could be updated and changed it to benefit people that are playing solo is some sort of in-game voice feature as well. I wouldn't go so far as to make it proximity so that the enemy can hear you as well. Just some sort of game voice in-game would definitely help balance this out if you are one of the solo, duo, or anyone under 6 players. I think another easy updatable item is going to be an MMR system. Whilst this is going to be fantastic for those playing in the ranked mode and grinding through trying to get to the top of the leaderboard, I think this is also going to be a great addition for new players as well, making sure they're not getting matched up against people in the top spots. I think also the ability to kick players from the team would be great as well. Whilst there definitely needs to be some sort of AFK automatic kick function, there should also be the ability to vote kick someone as well. This can be from players that are basically AFK because all they are doing is standing inside the spawn and shooting out, knowing they cannot be hit but they can get kills. Players are currently using this to pad their own stats, which does have a detrimental effect on the rest of the team as well. Obviously, this game is still in early access, and with any early access game that is in PvP as well, you're definitely going to have ongoing balancing issues that you're going to be facing. The cats dynamic is fantastic, and I love the way they can interact with the walls and the environment around them, along with having a tiny little kitty cat being able to power a monstrous mecha suit. The game is fun with friends, but can be a little bit of a letdown if you are playing solo right now. If you are a veteran Valorant or Overwatch player, I think you're going to be able to jump into this game and have a fun time. Although I will continue to warn against solo or duo play, it's definitely more fun with your friends. It definitely has some really good gunplay in it as well, along with that fluid movement system we've previously mentioned. I think the best selling point is still the cat jumping out of the mech and getting to run around as the tiny little kitty. If you've been lucky enough to play this game, please drop us comments below of what you thought about playing it. If you have a suggestion for what game we should cover next, also jump into the comments and let us know. Don't forget to like and subscribe and come back to keep up to date with all the content we're going to be bringing you. Until next time, I'll see you then, and goodbye.